Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today. The topic we have today is how to build product ecosystem for your brand, uh, or how to build product ecosystem around your business mission. All right. And with me here is an expert who has built lots of products for our business, and I've asked her to join me to discuss this topic. So, over to you, Venice. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Venesse. I'm the founder of Naya's Coily World, where we are all about taking up space for girls like myself who have coily, kinky, and afro-textured hair. And I'm so happy to be here.
Awesome. All right. Welcome. Just for the sake of the people that are watching us right now, I'm just going to talk to us about how this session is going to run. So first, we'll get to understand Venice's brand, and then we are going to go into talking about, um, what product ecosystem is, and um, how to think of product ecosystem, why you should build product ecosystem, how to build product ecosystem. So if you're watching us and you have questions, feel free to drop it as a comment. I'm going to see it. I'll be able to pick those questions and ask Venus as well. So let's get started. Yeah. So with Nia's Coily World, what inspired you to start this business?
So this is a very story that means so much to me. So growing up, I didn't see the type of representation that I needed to feel confident to wear my natural textured hair. So very early on, I permed my hair, and for most of my life, I didn't know what my natural texture looked like underneath. And going into the corporate world, if I saw people that looked like me, they certainly didn't wear their natural hair. It wasn't the thing. You always wore straight hair. And I remember there were times I would see like an auntie or a grandma or somebody who was older and they would be wearing their hair in their natural afro. And I'm like, is something wrong with them? Like, why would they choose to wear their hair like that? So it wasn't until the natural hair movement came about that I began to realize and reclaim like the beautiness of my natural hair. And I'm like, this is a problem. Like, I didn't realize that we had so been impacted by society's standard of beauty. And then I started braiding hair. So I was doing it in my basement. I was braiding hair as a side hustle, and I would realize from other people, parents, that they were having a lot of questions about taking care of their hair. So now we have people who are embracing their natural hair, but we have such a learning curve because of a history of not wearing our hair. And so I wanted to empower the next generation, and I wanted to educate them. I wanted to provide those resources. And so I thought, what better way than a children's book? Because there's so much opportunity to teach and inspire through children's books, through fun messages. So that's what I did. I decided to write a book, and at the back of the book has a bunch of tips about hair care. It has definitions, because some people, you have mixed families who has a mother or father that might have a different hair texture than their child, and they don't know anything about their child's hair. So I wanted the book to be very inclusive for within our community but outside of our community.
That's amazing. you know uh like what you just said, sometimes it's very easy to also focus on just writing for the community, but if the goal is to um empower anyone who could come in contact with coily hair, so it's important to expand the message. That's great. uh, that's great. So
Exactly.
what products or services do you offer now?
So it started with my first book, and it was called Naya Hatton. Let's get those coils crowned in satin. And coils crowned in satin was really a very packed message. It was crowning your coil. So crowning it means loving it. But the part about crowning in satin means taking care of it, because satin is a very soft material for your hair. And I wanted people to understand that we're going to walk you through a wash day with Naya as she learns to take care of her hair. So I started with that book. And after that, I saw the opportunity to do more. So I currently also have I had t-shirts, empowering t-shirts that have messaging about, your beauty fro, your power fro, your skill fro, always using that language of empowerment around our hair and uplifting. And then I also have an animated series on YouTube. So we're bringing Naya to life, where she teaches hair care to kids. Very fun. She sings, she dances, and she just livens them up by sprinkling practical tips about hair care without kids even knowing that they're learning, because we want them to be empowered to take care of their own hair. Growing up, I never knew how to take care of my hair. It was very later on that I learned that. And I think we can empower younger kids to learn some of those practical skills. Doesn't mean they're precisely braiding their own hair, but they can learn to pull out their braids. They can learn shampooing and conditioning. They can learn the skills, because the more empowered we are, the more confident we are to wear our hair. And that's really what it is. And then recently I came out with our second book, and that one is it's been really popular with people, with customers, because it's called Naya's First Swim. And we all know swimming and our hair is a thing. And so yeah, it's the newest one, and it's really, really doing well.
Awesome. So there is the first book, and there's a second one. There is t-shirts, there's animation, and there is you also host workshops.
Workshops, yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Tell me more about them.
So we have hosted 3 workshops to date. The first one was part of my book launch, but I wanted it to be more than a book launch. It was really a hair talk experience. So I had a hair texture stylist come in. She did a demo of hair right in front of everyone, and then allowed a Q&A. And that, to me, woke me up to how much people have questions, how much people still want to learn. And so from there, I'm like, you know what, we're going to make this a thing. So I like to have kids focus hair care workshops, but it allows the parents to come and learn as well. And so I have a series called Coils End. So the last one I had was coils and crochet. So kids came, they learned to detangle their hair. A stylist came and taught them the 3 S's of detangling. It was saturate, so you spray your hair with water. Then it was section, and then it was start from the bottom. And the kids, the feedback that I got from the parents, oh my gosh, like the kids really learned and remembered those 3 tips. And afterwards, they're sending me pictures saying, oh, my daughter, she's detangling hair and she's using the 3 S's. So we have a component where they learn practical hands-on skills with their hair. And then it's a fun component where they learn to crochet. And the crocheting was fun because they're learning braiding. So it played on with the hair skills as well. So my next workshop is going to be similar. It's going to be called Coils and Color, where we're going to learn about coloring our hair safely. So for parents or anyone who wants to color their hair, my hair is colored. And I went to someone who knows how to color textured hair without it falling off. And it's really important to keep that and maintain that health. And then it ends with a paint workshop where kids are going to be painting. So continue to do this sort of empowerment where we have fun, we do hair, and a combination of fun.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Because when you were talking, what came to my mind is, oh, if there is a course for this, when you talked about even paid workshop, there is a course which could be live or even recorded. I think a lot of people are going to like it as well. Because sometimes on social media, right? I've seen some parents, especially mixed kids that have coily hair, but their parents know nothing at all. There's a difference between having coily hair, but you still don't know so much, and
Yes,
not having coily hair at all, and then you have a child with coily hair, for like biracial couples and all of that. So like sometimes they're just complaining on social media, like, oh my god, I don't know what to do. So if
exactly.
there's something they can go through, um, you know, talking about course, because it's something that somebody can be in, you know, United States, and they're taking course from you in Canada, something like that. If so, that would be awesome. I think people are going to love it as well. Well,
That's a really good idea. Yes, I like it.
thank you. Okay, so let's look at. I think you already answered a portion of this question, because when we were talking, you mentioned that your Facebook was sorry, your first product was a book, right? So what's coming to my mind now is, what inspired you to write the book? Because I'm sure there would have been other ways to also teach kids. So why did you go for a book?
Oh, that's a good question. So many things were going on, but one, I love art. I love to create. It's always been something that has been important to me. Actually, in elementary school, I won the art award. And as I grew up, I even did my fine arts, a double major in fine arts and political science in university. So art has always been near and dear to me. But then as I grew up, I kind of just forgot about it. I never did anything art related. And so it wasn't until COVID, when we all had a little bit more time, I was crafting a lot more. I was sewing things, I was crocheting. And then my sister says to me, she was reading a book to her goddaughter And she says, you know, you love this art stuff and you love this hair stuff. Why don't you write a children's book? These kids love this stuff. And I said, that's a great idea. And so that was the first time I had, in I don't know how many years, picked up a brush. So anyway, the first book I illustrated myself. I drew it and then learned watercolor and watercolored the book, the illustrations, and then that was the first book. So it really was almost like a passion project. I didn't know what I was going to do with it. I wanted to share my story, and so I put it in a book. And then from there, the ideas just continued to flow because I like to create. And so, yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, a lot can happen when somebody around you, especially somebody who understands your skills, say, "Oh, have you thought of this?" That's a great way
Exactly.
to get an idea. That also means when somebody says that, it's good to just, give it a second thought, just for anybody listening. Yeah. Okay. So let's look at your latest product. Is that the second book?
It is. I actually have it right here. I'll show you. So this is Naya here, and she's all puzzled.
Mhm.
Naya's first swim. She's got her swim cap on. It's not quite fitting. And her brother's over here encouraging her with his trophy. And so basically, this is a story of Naya learning to swim and her brother. I intentionally included a boy in the story because I wanted to bring in the story of young boys who are often unfairly judged by their braids. In school, children can be unfairly judged by teachers and considered troublesome just by having braids, you know, and we need to change that. We need to change the narrative around that. So while the story is a focus on Naya, we bring in a new element to really help change this narrative. And so her brother is the know-all. He's a seasoned swimmer, and he teaches her and shows her what he does because he has an afro too. And he says, listen, Naya, let's go to work. I can show you how you can do this. You can swim and have fun and also have great, beautiful hair. So yeah, it's a great book. And then at the back of the book, again, we have the education. So always having the education. So it has hair care tips. Can't really see it for before swimming, after swimming, and yeah, just a bunch of stuff to just keep our hair healthy and thriving.
Yeah, that's great because when you're saying it, somebody without curly hair may not even understand what you're saying. It was it
They wouldn't
it
know.
was like hair and like curly hair and swimming. And most times, even some people with curly hair, they are going to maybe have like extensions on. So, and those extensions are not water friendly and all of that. So, it's the whole
Exactly.
ball game to just even understand what to do. So, you see somebody not even agreeing to swim, not because they don't like the swimming pool, but because of the hair worry of what's going to happen to your hair.
Exactly. And it's like a number of things. Like sometimes it's just the anxieties that we have, like the swim caps that don't fit, the combing process after. If I go on my hair with just my afro and don't even put it in some plaits, it's gonna be a tangled mess, which means hours of detangling after. These are kind of things that people outside of our community, they look at us like, what's the problem? Just get in the water. But no, my hair doesn't just fall straight down my back when I get out the water. It doesn't just dry straight and nice and I can just go about my business. It's a whole styling process. And these are things that we have to deal with. And so we can overcome these things once we just empower ourselves.
Hmm. You know what is interesting? When I first discovered that coily hair like mine could grow so long to the extent of like touching my back, I was already 30 something years old.
This is it.
You
We had
know,
no idea our hair could grow.
just, just imagine that. Like that you are born with this hair. For me, I never knew my head could grow beyond my shoulders because
Shoulders.
everyone around me, their hair never, grew past their shoulders. And when it did grow beyond that, it was seen as the exception, right? Like
Aha.
you have a very special hair. What are you
You're mixed
using?
or you're, yes.
So
Yes.
when I discovered that, wow, I actually posted it about it on Facebook at that time, and it's not long ago. It's maybe like maybe 2 years or a year plus. It's not even. It's not long ago, right? So crazy, and I was like,
Mhm.
what? Because all this while I tried to do lots of things with my hair. So I try. Sometimes I will cut it. Sometimes it's just like you don't know what to do. So when I figured that my hair could grow, that there were styles I could use to even carry the natural hair, because
Mhm.
sometimes some people think you even want to carry extension because you want to carry extension. Sometimes you have to carry extension because you have to, maybe based on your work. It's
Exactly.
yeah. It sounds interesting to think that, oh, you can just carry your hair, but the detangling you have to do and the hours you have to put into that, right? Then, and maybe this may not be compatible with your work. When I use the word compatible, I'm talking about you wake up, you spend an enormous amount of time, especially if you don't know what to do. Maybe from your own end, it may be a few minutes because maybe sprinkle water, maybe. But sprinkling water even comes when maybe you are carrying your natural hair, right? If you are carrying, like, let's say you have your hair relaxed, you can't just be sprinkling water. So, yeah. So, and you go to the salon and maybe have the hair done, and in 1 week is scattered, right? Then you have to redo it. So it's not so compatible with your
Your
lifestyle. So you
lifestyle.
end up doing
Exactly.
extensions so that you can carry your hair for a longer period.
Ex- exactly. Even like I go to the gym, and it's hard. Like I would only wear braids because I'm like, how can I go to the gym and then bounce back and have my hair? And so even now I'm still working figuring it out, but I don't wear braids anymore. I wear my natural hair, and I force myself to figure it out because I am going to. And so some days my hair looks terrible. I'm covering it with like, wraps or whatever because it's in some messy braids underneath her twists, but you just have to figure it out. And so yeah, it's a thing though. You have to figure out how to work for your lifestyle.
Yeah. So yeah, also discovering sister locks, I was like, whoa, bring it
And it's
on.
beautiful.
I'm like, sign me up forever.
I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet.
It's okay. Let's look at why does coily hair empowerment matter?
Okay, so this was a very intentional piece for me as a person who has a very kinky, coarse, cottony. I could use so many adjectives to describe my hair, but it's not. It's a very underrepresented hair type. We're often left out when people choose to show representation of natural hair. It's generally people with looser curl textures. It's generally people who can slick back their hair easily, who has the big bounce and movement. My hair, it's stiff, and even this is not in natural texture because this is a braid out, so it's in a stretch style that doesn't show the true shrinkage of my hair. And it again impacts your confidence to walk out and wear your hair naturally because you don't see it. It's no different than going to a party and people are all wearing suits and you come in joggers. You feel awkward. And especially if you work in a corporate environment or you work in spaces where you don't see people that look like yourself, it's a problem. And so I see so much about the curly hair movement, curly hair girls, and I said my hair doesn't curl. It has a zigzag pattern. It's very kinky. It's more of a wiry, and it doesn't curl like a curl. And it's different, and it's coily. And so for me, I want us to really embrace the word coily. I want to shout it out. I want to take up space in the natural hair community for coily haired ladies because our hair is different. It molds different, it shapes different, and you have to take care of it differently. It's often very fragile and delicate. I can't do the same things that some women can just drag a comb through their hair and part it. I cannot do that. Every piece is tangled together. Like it's a very different process. And so I was very intentional about making about Naya's Coily World. We are coily haired empowered sisters in the 4C category, whatever you want to call yourselves. And we're here to take up space and show the world that our hair is beautiful and we actually exist.
Sure. Sure. Okay, let's transition into the product ecosystem, because first of all, it was important to understand what you're doing and the products you've created so that when we're talking about product ecosystem, it's easier for the person that is listening to have an idea of what we're talking about. So, but just so that we don't leave anyone guessing, um, could you tell us more about like product ecosystem, what it is?
So I think it's opportunity to diversify what your offerings are. So it's a category of things that you might offer. So rather than just offering one product line or one product, it's a product line. And so for me, my focus is on providing an array of things around my movement, around my platform. And so it started with the book, but I also do T-shirts because sometimes your audience is different, and sometimes people already have books about hair or their children are not in that age group. So offering different things allows you to diversify what you're selling and therefore diversify your income.
Awesome. Okay. So what's the right time to start thinking about um, building an ecosystem of products instead of a single product? Is there a right time? If yes, what is the right time?
So for me, I like to try things. And I think as a new business, you have to be willing to take risks. And you're not going to know if something's going to do well unless you try it. And I haven't found the magic potion yet. So I test things out. And I'm actually going to stop selling the t-shirts because I think they're taking away from my books and my other things. And it's a lot of to carry in terms of inventory. So you have to think about all those things. Do you want how much inventory of this? Do you want to worry about all these things? Do you want to focus on one thing and see how well it does? These are all things you have to consider. But I think about things early on and think about how envision your brand strategically early on and see what you think benefits your market, your audience. So that's really important about getting to know who your audience is and what they like, what they need from you, and what you're positioning for them. But keep in mind that along the way, you can adjust, you can add, and you can move with the trends of your audience. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm open to learning and seeing what they want and need.
That's great. Okay. What role does you talked about audience, right? Like, the trend. So, what role does customer feedback play in product in creating products, right, within the ecosystem?
Oh, so it's great. It's everything actually, because at markets, um, vendor events, schools, libraries, when I'm going to these things, I'm talking to people who are either learning for the first time about the Black hair experience or who well know about it and want more, or who say, oh, we should have this or we should have that. And so I take that in. And so even with the second book, I was talking to people and we started getting a conversation about things where our hair isn't really factored in. Someone brought up, at a dentist, you go to a dentist and they put all these things on you, and it's, if you have a head wrap on or if you have your hair in a big style, these things are compressing your hair, it's ripping your hair. Like there's certain things in society that didn't realize to factor in our hair. It's no different than a person with a disability who needs a wheelchair and is walking and so forth, which I don't want to compare it to that in any way, but you know what I mean? So looking at some of the challenges that we face with Black hair, how can we share more of that narrative? And so then I started talking about sports, and I saw what was going on with the Olympics at the time, and swim caps and so forth. And so there's always opportunity to see what's going on and going from there. But actually, so one of the piece about my animation that came out of a story with so I'm actually work as a policy analyst in paramedic services and emergency services, and there are not a lot of representation in paramedics where I work. And so one of my leadership team was very supportive of what I'm doing with this book, and he said maybe your next book should be about paramedics wearing their natural hair. And so I said, I've already thought of the concept for my second book, but that might be great for the animation. So as I was developing the animation, I said, this allows me to do more shorter stories and bring more of the narrative and kind of address some of these issues that people keep bringing to me. And so that's when I said, the animation is a great way to bring faster, more information. So we did one of my second video, I believe, was about Naya talking to a paramedic who says, he can wear his braids at work, he can wear his afro at work, feel free to show up as yourself at work, whatever it is you do. And yeah, just talking to customers and getting their feedback allows me to really continue to share the stories. Storytelling is at the heart of what I do. And if I can do that through my product line, that's it.
I see. Yeah. So you've talked about uh, customer feedback or feedback from people generally, and then you talked about even maybe when you looked at Olympics, which is more like events that are going on around the world. Uh, is what role does data play, or like do you have to research things like that, or tell me more.
Absolutely. So yes, data plays a big role. For example, I don't know where you're situated, but I'm in Durham region, east of Toronto, and looking at the number of hairstylists who focus in textured hair, that was one thing that I noticed as a problem for my community, because there are about 3,500 stylists generally in the Toronto GTA areas, what we call it, Greater Toronto Area, and of that, there's about probably under 50 that focus on texture style, and that's in the total GTA area. And in the pocket where I live, Durham region, there's probably under 10. And so understanding that there's a need for people to provide these textured hair resources was another reason for that. Understanding that some 65% of the world has some level of textured hair, and yet we're still struggling to understand how to take care of it. These are the types of data that I'm seeing, and I'm like, yeah, we need to do more, because product lines keep pushing out products. They keep hair brands put out more products about hair, but some people don't even know the difference between conditioner and deep conditioner. Who's teaching? We have influencers who are showing their trial and errors. That's how I learned my natural hair, through influencers on YouTube. But those are trial and error, and their hair type is not mine, and those kind of things. So who's teaching us who have been left behind for so long and now catching up? Who's teaching? No one's teaching. And so that's what my brand is about, is looking at the data, looking at what we're seeing in our communities, what the needs are, and responding to it.
Sure. Okay. Let's go into why we should build product ecosystem. So why is building product ecosystem important for a business?
I love this question because for me, one, you get to have fun with your business. If you see a product is doing well, there's opportunity to grow. And growing means building an income for yourself. And so, even if you're trying to get into retailers, if, for example, my book is a certain size, and so that requires a certain shelf space. But if you want to, so I also have keychains, which I didn't bring with me. But if I wanted to get into maybe, the front counter space or different spaces of a retailer, and they measure their spaces, so they know exactly the precision of what can be had there. You have to have different sizes. So if you're thinking about building your company and opportunities to diversify your income, having an ecosystem of those products is a great way to position yourself for the future, for greater profit generation.
I get that. So what is the impact of product ecosystem to the cost on the customer? We've talked about why it's important for how it impacts the entrepreneur and the business, right? But for the customer, what is the impact?
No, that's great. I've had customers come up to me and say, listen, I already have enough books, or my child is past this age for the books, but I love the t-shirt. So I'm going to get 2 of those t-shirts because I can wear it. I can give it to someone, etc. So sometimes it's about what the customer will want, what they can use. And not everybody wants a book. It's just that simple. And then the animation is great too, because kids can watch it from their YouTube. They're already on their devices. So maybe a customer doesn't want to pay for a book, but they have the accessibility of seeing our YouTube and Naya come to life for free. So all these options are avenues to access what we're providing in different ways. It's a great way to access our customer in different ways. And so therefore they get to see us how they want to. However they want to open the door to us, they get to do that.
I see that. So different customers are different, and we love to experience you in a different way. So when you create different products, it's like you tend to capture more people to engage with your brand.
Absolutely. Exactly.
Okay. So what if an entrepreneur or somebody who is starting a business now is thinking about, okay, here you are talking about creating creating product ecosystem around the business mission, right? And maybe the person feels like maybe their business mission is still fuzzy or is too broad. Like, is there any advice you can give to that person, maybe to decide on what area to focus on or what ecosystem to focus on?
So in terms of starting and waiting, just start. The great thing about business is you can always refine. Just start somewhere. If you are a person that can't sort of get your way until you get going, then do that. But I'm a kind of person, I can plan and execute and do all that formative work first. So for me, my strategy was built early on. I knew my slogan was empowering coily, kinky, and afro textures. I knew that earlier on, and I hired someone earlier on to build my brand collateral. So that was my logo, my color scheme, my fonts, all those things. So if you know that stuff, position that early on, because that's what tells that consistent story all the way throughout. So from the very beginning, I've been using all the same colors, all the same branding, everything. My look and feel becomes part of the community, part of my message. And if purple and yellow come across the screen, somebody knows that's my brand. But at the same time, everyone's different, and brands have iterations. There's so many brands that reinvent themselves. So the best thing to do is start. If you don't know what your vision is, but you have something you feel strongly about, just start somewhere, and you can build on it. But know your strengths. And for me, I was able to do that planning earlier on, and that worked for me.
I see. I like the advice as well, right? Because I see it's more like if somebody gets caught up in that place of trying to, it's like, okay, you don't know if is it too broad, and it's most times it's going to that person is going to end up not doing anything.
Eggs stuck. Exactly.
So it is better to do something than to get shut down from analyzing everything, business mission. Perhaps as the business take up, you can begin to see, okay, this one is a bit too far off. I can cut that off. I can add something else based on what customers are looking for and all of that. That's a great insight.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Okay, so let's look at like how do you get the idea of what product to create? But I know you've touched on this question, like when we talked about customer feedback, events, and all of that. But just in case there are still other things you want to add.
Sure. Well, actually, so at my workshops, I provide swag bags, and they include branded mist bottles, combs, keychains, and other things. And so it was really just something to give people as a gift with our branded stuff to take home. But the feedback from our mist bottles, when I posted them on social media, people who hadn't even bought the book were like, "Oh my God, I need one! Like, save me a bottle! I need one!" And so I thought, and I've always wanted to get into hair tools, but I'm not there yet. But now it really has me thinking, well, I have some interest. And so I have some items left from my last workshop, and I'm going to bring them forward at a vendor market and see if they sell. And so here's an opportunity where client feedback has encouraged me to try a new stream of products. And I'm actually really excited about this.
Wow. Like I'm not even just making this surprise up. I'm really surprised because like what you said there is like you offered someone else's product to your customers and then looked at how they experienced the product, and then their feedback, perhaps, okay, they liked it, and you're like, okay, cool, I can go out and build my, is a very inexpensive way to test.
Exactly.
That's why I'm like amazed. That's the huge insight right there. Because sometimes you can get caught up in. So look at the two extremes. I notice maybe you have not built it out, and you're just trying to ask people, "Hey, will you like a misting bottle or something, like bottle to spray your water on your hair?" And maybe they say yes, maybe they say no. And because maybe they're not even buying from you at that point, they may just say yes. Because thinking about it from product angle, right? Even if you put it on your website and say join waiting lists,
yes,
it's still not so effective for a product that people have to experience.
Exactly.
So then the other option is that people go ahead, design products, and then maybe order small quantity, for example, and then but the design process and everything is still on another angle, right? So it's like two extremes, but you just sat in the middle, like, I'm gonna get this product, give it to them, let them experience it. If they like it,
Exactly.
then I go on and create it. Wow.
Right? Yeah.
That's good. And I have a feedback. I didn't use the mist bottle, but I had, so there were some bottles that I bought for misting my hair as well, right? Like
Mhm.
spraying water. I noticed that sometimes some of them, like when you are spraying, like you see water, I don't know, it can become a bit messy with the water dropping from the place, not the place the water is supposed to come out from.
Ah.
Yeah. Especially there was a particular one I saw the picture
Oh.
that some kids were using because so it's so fancy, you know. My sister actually bought it for me. So, but when I used it, I noticed that sometimes, like you see the water coming out from the place that is not the nozzle. I don't know the right way to describe it. So that
Yeah.
was something I noticed. So I had, so I ended up using another misting bottle that I saw. But how I got that misting bottle, my own secret idea of how I got the misting bottle was that I bought a product that had a misting bottle. I think the product was like maybe $10. I
Mhm.
didn't have the intention to use the product. I just poured out the product and then put water inside it. And why did I do that? Because I know that a product that they're selling for like $10, $15, I can't remember the price, probably is going to have like a good misting bottle, like a spray bottle, right? So I ended up using their spray bottle to spray water. So I just bought the product for the sake of the spray bottle.
Gotcha.
So perhaps um, in terms of design, right? Designing your own misting bottle, try to look at maybe products that, not the misting bottles now, but the products that have misting bottles. Do you get the point?
Yes. No,
Especially
totally.
luxury products with misting bottles, and look at how their misting bottles are.
That's a very good advice. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Because I didn't like that, the water dropping and everything. So at the end, I left it. So
Eh,
anyway, it's okay. Let's look at when you have multiple ideas that come to your mind as per next product to create. How do you choose the one to create next?
hmm. For me, it's just going with a passion and idea. So I'm on a lot of hair care communities, and so I get to know my audience, and so I'm seeing the questions that they're asking a lot. I'm seeing the things that they need. I'm seeing the things that are liked. Even going to other stores, if I see like, oh, there's so many of these type of, like, that's where I got the t-shirt idea. I was at Afrofest in Toronto. I don't know if you know what that is. And they had a lot of t-shirts that had like empowering messages for womanhood or culture and stuff. And so at the time I'm like, I think hair empowering t-shirts would be a really great fit. So just seeing things and trying things, I just get ideas from the community. I just keeping my ears to the ground and hearing and listening and seeing what's going on. Yeah, that's really what I do.
Okay. Uh, my next question will be: are there things to be mindful of or errors to avoid when it comes to creating product ecosystem for one's business?
Mm. Um, One, really try not to go overboard in terms of your products. Like, unless you have, the immediate cash flow, unless you have the community who's buying very quickly, take time to test and see. Don't continue to add so quickly. See what's working well, see what your best sellers are. Really starting with one foundational product and working up your way is really important. Yeah, I say go strategic and slow as opposed to fast and hard, and learn and take those metrics as you go to see what's doing well, and on top of that, look at what your margins are, like what's actually the most cost effective to build and make. So t-shirts might cost a certain amount and bring in a certain amount, whereas keychains might cost a certain amount and bring in so much more. So what's more cost effective on your margins for you? And then even that, what's easier to carry in terms of inventory? Because if you're selling directly from your own store, having t-shirts in every size and men and women or kids and women compared to just a bunch of keychains, what takes up the most space as a small business? So a lot of things to factor in when you're doing products. If you're, and it depends on the type of products, like food or beauty products. all of that varies, you know, especially with shelf life and those kind of things. So there's a lot of considerations. My products are things that, you know, basically have a non-expiring shelf life. But when we're thinking about food and beauty products and other things that expire, that's a whole nother realm. So you certainly want to factor in inventory, costs, margins, and those things when you're considering how to expand and when's the best time to expand.
Wow. And these things you are saying, they are really things that can, you know, make it that the business owner makes profit or don't, you know.
Exactly. Do or die. Yeah.
Yeah. So how does one learn? Like, so if an entrepreneur starting out want to create product and product ecosystem, there are a lot of things you are hinting here that, like, if somebody have not heard them before and they just go out creating products, they may either create a product that is taking a lot of shelf space that they have to pay for and is not matching with maybe the profits that the product can bring in. So that may be a reason the stores may not agree to carry it, right? Based on maybe very low margin or something, or the person run out of funds because the margin is so low and all of that. So there are a lot of nuances. So somebody starting out, wanting to create a product ecosystem as such, like, where can they learn? What kind of resources are out there?
I think for everyone it's different. You have to do your research for what you're building, what you want to produce. And there are people you can talk to. I really, really, really highly recommend mentors. For me, I reach out to people who are already doing something what I'm doing. I actually had a book mentor, someone who guided me in moving forward with my book, what to do, what steps to do, how to publish, how to get into retailers, how to position myself. I had to go and do that research. Everyone has to do their legwork. So I think find someone who's doing something similar to what you're doing and ask them. And it's not everyone's going to be open to sharing. So find the people who are open and honest, who don't mind sharing their success. And more often than not, there are people who want to help because they were there once, and now I find myself in a position being helping others, and I'm still learning, but I'm constantly getting emails of, hey, can I book a chat with you? I'd love to hear your journey of how you created your book, you know, how you marketed it, how you got where you are today, et cetera, et cetera. So I return the favor that I received from those who inspired me and who helped me. But yeah, it's also about taking a risk. You have to know what you're already willing to invest and how much you're willing to lose in that investment, and you won't know until you try.
Sure. Okay. Take advantage of mentors. Look out for people who have done what you want to do already.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So for those watching, if you have a particular question you want me to ask her, please drop it as a comment. I'm going to see it and I'll pick it and ask so that she can answer you. That's the benefit of watching us live. So feel free.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So what advice will you give to a solopreneur that's somebody that is still maybe just at the early stage starting out their business, trying to build an um, product ecosystem without a big team? What advice will you give to that person?
So my two biggest pieces of advice are join startup programs. There are a lot of help in our community. It doesn't matter where you are. I'm sure there are opportunities. Actually, I want to go back. My number one advice is network. Begin networking and network within your own personal space, your friends, your family. So when I first started my book, I wasn't even finished my book. I started telling people what I was doing. And I'm so grateful for doing that because those people pointed me to other people. And I would not have known those people if I hadn't told my friends and family. So don't keep things in. Maybe sometimes you're building something, you don't want to share it until it's ready. Share it, start talking, and then go to networking events in your community. So what I was doing was go on your own. Don't wait for a friend to come with you. Go on your own. So I was going to networking events and meeting people. And those people in turn have followed me. So you get follower counts. So you get people who share you with something else, or they're giving you information about something else. And a lot of these events that I went to, one, I made sure they were related to what I was doing. So whether it's Black community or business related or hair related, I went to networking events or business startups. And often a lot of them allowed you to pitch. So it put me in front of people to pitch what I was doing. And again, I hadn't even launched a book yet. I just said, this is what I'm doing. And I would talk about what I was doing. And people would come up to me after and say, oh, I love this. This is such a great idea. You know, let me follow you. I had like 2 followers at that point. And people were supporting what I was doing. So talk and network. Then my next tip is join programs. There are a lot of startup programs. A lot of them offer opportunities to pitch or win money. And so I have been able to win money for my business. That's the only thing keeping me afloat right now is money, because I'm actually not even profitable. I'll be very honest. I'm not profiting. My animations cost me a lot of money. And so I'm making revenue, but I'm not profitable at this point. And so I have financial resources to carry me, because I've actually been able to secure quite a bit of funding. And so highly recommend joining startup programs. Some are accelerators, incubators, et cetera, depending on what stage you're at. And those have helped me, as well as applying to grants. And what I found, and I haven't been the most successful in grants, I have won a few, but what I found is they help me be more strategic in my business. So because you're applying and they tell us your business plan, or tell us what you plan to do, or tell us your forecast, or you had to step back and think, what am I doing? What am I trying to do with this? Who am I? What is my slope? What is my position? Tell me about your business. All of that, I had to position myself and figure it out. And it helped me be more strategic about what I was doing. It wasn't just a book. And early on, I decided this wasn't going to be just a book. I was building a platform that I see going somewhere further in the future. And so applying to brands, being in those programs and networking has helped me do that.
That's great. Thank you. Um, Lots of insights there, but you said them and you also were able to summarize them. So I'll leave it there. Okay. So if you were to go back and give your earlier self one piece of advice about building product ecosystem, what will it be?
Right now, so I'm a year in. I only launched my first book a year ago. And right now I'm really trying to push more retailers. So I'm in a few independent retailers, but I'd like to get into some bigger retailers. And you don't know where you're going in your business. You don't know whether to focus on this. You don't know whether to focus on social media. You don't know whether to focus on grants or here and there. But I wish I focused more on retailers, because that's going to get me exposure and that's going to get me money. And so now I'm trying to get into retailers, and I'm learning about, procurement and pitching buyers and so forth. And I wish I had started that earlier. Maybe I would have reorganized how I did things. So retailers are number one thing. But other than that, I don't have any regrets or changes. Like, you can only do so much. I spend a lot of time trying to pitch media to get in front of the news. I put myself in different places almost every other day to see where I can push what I'm doing. And you just have to try things. So I don't, other than hoping to get somebody who, makes me go viral, there's not much you can do than just keep trying. And so I know I'm doing everything that I can. And my only advice is to make sure you're putting yourself in positions of opportunity. So whether that's pitching media, whether that is, and I'll go back to that as an example. So I've been featured on CTV twice, actually. And that came through a networking opportunity. I was at a networking event where I met someone who, at the time, I didn't even know who they were. We were just genuinely connected. And so I followed them on Instagram. They followed me back. And that's when I noticed, oh, they have a connection to a TV. And so I left that alone, didn't jump on it. And as we connected through Instagram, one day I finally asked, hey, I'm launching this book. Would you have a contact? Would you be willing to share a contact where I could pitch to get on TV? And that didn't right away lead to anything, but it eventually did. So the opportunity of networking and that for it led to something for me. So I would just say position yourself in different ways. So I'm constantly trying to find funding, constantly trying to find visibility, constantly trying to build my community through workshops, and then constantly trying to sell by going to vendor events, pushing my organic sales and my traffic. So finding different areas to do stuff. Am I stretching myself? Absolutely. But this is what you do as a startup. And so I think, I don't know. I don't have any changes. I would just keep pushing the things that I'm learning and doing it more effectively.
Cool. Wow. What is the one question you wished I asked you, but I have not asked you yet?
Uh, Girl, I don't know. I feel like we had a good start talking about what my why is. And that was great. And then we got into the business nitty-gritty. Um no, I don't know. Maybe what's next?
Okay, good. I'm getting there, but so let me ask it. What's your vision for your business?
So I would like to see my business as the go-to platform first within Durham for kids hair care education. I want um, people to to see me as a place to, okay, check out Naya's Coily World if you're looking for a texture stylist in the Durham region. Check out Naya's Coily World if you want your kid to start learning some practical tips for themselves. Check out Naya's Coily World for your next wash day with your daughter, so something she can watch that you know is entertaining, safe for her age, and you can learn together and have a nice mommy daughter time. So I want to become a go-to resource for children and parents. And then beyond that, I would like to become a licensed character brand, a global brand. That's my dream, my vision. We'll see how the stars align with that one.
Yeah, no, I'm listening to you. Actually, I want to write down because I thought I was keeping everything, but there are many, so I just have to write down. You were saying lots of nice things.
Ah.
Just a moment. Let me grab my
Mm-hmm.
page. Yeah. So yeah, want to be a global brand. When you say licensed character, what does that mean?
Licensed character brand. So you see, like the mermaid, that's a licensed character wherein you can find her on millions of different products, candy, brushes, combs, backpacks, shoes. It's a licensed brand that can be licensed out to other services, different streaming services, educational tools. It's become something that's licensed out to virtually any type of product or service that can market it in a way. And that's how I see Naya's Coily World being. um yeah, Naya is her own person. She's this role model teaching kids to see their hair as a superpower. She is a hair care superhero, and she's her own person.
Nice. And these days, so let me ask you this question. These days, I see a lot of kids opening like YouTube accounts that like kids or kid characters. You know what? So, do you have intentions for that? I know you have a YouTube account. Is it Nia's
Yes, so
Coily
it's under
World?
Naya's
That's the
Coily
name.
World. Yeah, yeah. So it's just animation of her. It's not about me at all. And yeah, she tells her story. She sings, she dances. She has her main theme song. Do your coils shine and glow? Can you wear them in a fro? Can you tie them in a knot? Can you tie them in so yeah, she's doing all things hair on YouTube.
I see. Okay. Then the other thing I have, the other question I wanted to ask is, with this thing, the kids are the ones experiencing it, but if there's anything to pay for, then the parents, the moms, right? They are the ones like paying for
Absolutely.
this thing.
Absolutely.
So, are there products for kids that you've created for moms, or that you're thinking of creating for moms?
Um, that's an interesting one. So my target audience is children, but my primary audience is really the parents. They're the purchasing power. They're the ones that sign the approval. Yep, this is allowed for you. And so no, my products are for kids. I do, and that's what the t-shirts were about. They allowed for an adult audience to get something. Um, but no, it's all kids products. And I think parents, once I build that trust with them, then they allow their child to make those decisions. And that's how building the community and building the brand, the platform around what I'm doing is connecting with those parents.
Hmm, I get your point. Yeah, because the other time that I mentioned course, right? The course may not be for the kid. Yeah, there are videos or something that a kid can watch and maybe get an idea. But when you talk of course, it's probably going to be for those parents that are frustrated dealing with the coily hair and
Mm-hmm.
don't know how to get that child ready for school every day, having to deal with coily hair. Um, even if he's not a product that is paid, by the way, courses are very scalable as well. But it's more like still in the spirit of creating something to help build trust from the parents that are going to pay for that thing. That can be strategic as well. Courses. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Yeah, you have a question? Sorry, you were saying something.
No, I agreed with you.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Somebody dropped a comment. Let me see that. 1 moment. Okay. Person just says, keep it up. All right.
Aw.
I have another question. What's your advice for entrepreneurs? Given all the things that we've talked about, of course, the topic which we're discussing is building product ecosystem, but at the end of it all, probably an entrepreneur have sat down, watched this, seen your process and everything. What's your advice for the entrepreneur?
I think my main advice for entrepreneurs is if you don't have the grit, if you don't have the ability to push every day, just like I don't want to discourage you, but you have to be willing to put in almost 0 days for the first 2 years of your life. No 0 days, sorry, is what I call it. I literally work on my business every day. I have a full-time job and my evenings are my business. And that is whether I'm pushing something or any number of things. And I think you have to be willing to put in the work. Like if you know you can't invest the time in your business, then you're playing yourself. And don't play yourself. Okay. Know yourself, know your weaknesses, know your strengths, and make that decision earlier on so you're not wasting your time, because people value consistency. They need to see you showing up so that they can believe in your business. And if you can't show up for yourself, so I think that's my main advice, because as I mentioned, I've been on a few startup programs and I've met people who, they have the idea, they have the want, they have the desire, but they don't have the will. They fall quickly under pressure, and they're not willing to put in the risk or put themselves outside their comfort zone. And that's what this all is about, putting yourself outside your comfort zone. I actually don't enjoy speaking. It's not my thing. As I think I mentioned, I'm a policy analyst. I like being behind the scenes. I'm a creative. That's why I like creating. I could spend all my days in a room creating, writing, and never see people and not talk. But being in this role has required me to speak and share my story using my voice. People want to hear from the founder. And so you have to figure out whatever is outside your comfort zone, you're going to have to do it. And so be willing to take risks, be willing to be outside your comfort zone, and have the grit to keep pushing forward against failure and loss.
That's great. What okay, let's talk about, like, you mentioned something about, okay, working and then building a business. How does one create a balance?
I'm not the one to ask that. You know what? I'm fortunate enough to be I don't know if it's a fortunate thing, but I don't have any kids. So for me, this is really my baby. And I work into my day job, which I find very fulfilling. And then I do this, but I still make time for family and friends where I can. It's limited. I'm not as accessible to my family and friends as I want, but I also still make time for vacationing. That's something that I make sure I do. But other than that, I carve out a lot of time for this business because I want to see it move, and it's not going to move if I'm not moving it. And so I would say, I'm going to be realistic. There is no real balance when you're starting a business. And that's why I say you have to be able to have the grit to keep pushing. You're going to be stressed and there's going to be some hard moments, and you have to be willing to deal with it. And anyone who makes you think it's easy or you can just show up one day out of the month to work on your business, it's not possible. And I've heard entrepreneurs within the first 3 years of their business, it's like this, until you really get some traction and see things. And I'm only, about a year and a few months into it. And I'm definitely I'm making better changes than I was last year. Last year was very, very go for me. But this year I'm making it a little bit less stress, but it's still every day. And I'm comfortable with that. That's the tone that I've set for myself, because I want to get to a certain place before I can say, okay, maybe this isn't working, let's stop. But for now, things are working for me. Traction is building. So I'm going to keep going with what I've built and build more. Someone said to me the other day, you can't, a tree doesn't grow from, I don't know, something else, but whatever you're planting is going to grow. So if you're planting a seed to grow a tree, then it's going to grow. You see?
I get it. Okay. Then you hinted on something. That's probably going to be my last question, except something else come up. You hinted on something about going for networking, and then also you talked about how networking landed you even TV appearance, right? So, like, what advice do you have for people when it comes to networking? Do you have for entrepreneurs when it comes to networking?
So, number one, I suck at it. I suck at it. But I have to get out of my comfort zone. So I will push myself to just go talk to someone, or stand like in the center of the room and wait till people talk to me. And you just figure out ways to make things work. But if you decide you're doing something, decide and do it properly. Don't half-ass it. Do it fully and get what you want to out of the experience. And that has made it work for me. So my algorithm on Instagram is, it knows that I want to network, and it's constantly showing me networking events. Like, I don't even have to look anymore. There's a networking event, I'm signing up, whether it's free, whether it's paid, I'm going, and I'm tracking all that in my expenses, my mileage and all those costs, because it is a cost to me to be at these things at a time and all that. So make sure, that's another tip for entrepreneurs, make sure your books are in order. Put those expenses so you can expense that at the end of the year. But yeah, I don't have any tips for networking. Just do it. Go up to people, find out who's important in the room. Sometimes you're talking to one person like, oh, she has a book, or oh, she's a teacher, and that's how it leads to something for me. Okay, is your school looking for authors? One thing leads to another. So just ask the questions.
Sure. Okay. I'll let you go because I have asked you lots of questions. Okay, but thank you very much for joining us today. You have a very lovely brand. I love the color. I love the story behind it, and everything that we've talked about here. And thanks for sharing your insights as well with building a product ecosystem. There are lots of people that, even though they are starting a business, maybe they just have one product. So it's not easy to have all these products that you have and testing them out and, seeing what works and thinking of adding more and all of that. So kudos, right? And yeah, thank you
Dr.
very
Linda, it
much.
was a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, it's all right. And for everyone watching, thank you for joining us. Bye for now. Okay.